instruction, golf news, equipment, travel, interviews, course profiles, and more. Your weekly fix of all things golf is about to begin. It's the Flagstick Podcast with your hosts, Jeff Gber and Scott McLeod. Well, welcome everybody to another episode of the Flagstick Podcast. I am Jeff Gber, and this guy is Scott McLeod. And of course, the Flagstick Podcast is sponsored this week by Canadian Pro Shop Online, with amazing prices on all the latest brand name golf equipment, all in one convenient location online. It's never been easier to upgrade your game, whether it's drivers, irons, putters, or whatever your golf game needs. The Canadian Pro Shop Online has the gear to help you play better golf. Shop online at CanadianProShopOnline.com. Perfect timing for the holidays too.
They're hammering out some sales right now. I don't know if you've seen some of them.
Yes.
Lee's been tagging me, and they've got some. If you're looking for the holiday season to do some gift giving, now's the time.
We don't mind telling you. CanadianProShopOnline.com is a good place to start.
You got it.
And another good place to start is reminding you to follow us across all social media networks on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok,
X. Pick one.
God, it's subscribe to us on Spotify, Audible, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts, and of course, don't forget YouTube. Like us, click the notification bell, make sure you never miss a single episode.
Yeah,
of this great podcast, because especially on YouTube, because if you weren't watching
and other stuff too.
Yes, if you weren't watching on YouTube, you wouldn't see my toque today.
Yeah, which that may turn people over to the audio side of things. They see,
my head's cold.
It's winter, I guess. I get it. We're in Canada. I don't want to wear a toque. I don't want it to be cold enough that I'm going to wear a toque.
I've been wearing a toque in the house for about a week, which is really weird because it's not cold in here.
I'm going to guess your wife
what's going on.
Loves that.
I have no idea.
The kids are probably going, because obviously now, we have teenagers and older teenagers. So
they don't wear toques in the house. I don't know. No.
But they're subject to commentary when you wear something that they're like, you know what I mean? You wear something, they're looking at you like, what are you wearing? So, I mean, I always get conscious when I'm wearing like a little bit more of a flat brim hat or something, and I'm waiting for my daughter to say something like,
so I'll wait for someone to say something. I know one of my youngest Brandon's buddies there, for some stupid reason, looked up the podcast and watched an episode of it and was commenting. It was the last one where I was wearing one of my my fancy hats there.
Fancy hats.
Well, okay. Yeah. And he made a comment about he didn't know what I was doing, but now he can watch this one and see that I'm wearing a toque, and we'll see what he says about this.
Oh,
I know, crazy times.
Yeah.
Crazy times.
You know what? Before we get to anything, I am ticked. I don't know what happens in your community. Like, I'm down in Kingston, Ontario. You're in Ottawa community, in Ottawa. But when do they do the leaf pickup, or do they do a leaf pickup in Ottawa?
Every week.
Okay, so every week would be fantastic. Our neighborhood, which was supposed to have them done, I don't know, at least a week plus ago. Now I'm watching bags just disintegrating on people's front lawns because everybody's had them out for a week plus, and they're just rain, snow, everything. And I'm just like going, I don't want to be the person to pick that up, because I know
it's gonna dump and then they're just gonna leave it there.
Exactly. That's exactly going to happen. So I'm just like watching it going, when am I going to come home after dropping somebody off or whatever, and the leaves are going to be picked up, and half of them are still going to be on the lawn.
It's not an issue here. Actually, the last garbage day we had this week, I had 3 yard waste bags with pumpkins and stuff in it. I had 2 mattresses, a broken bed,
golf clubs, any clubs or anything in there?
No clubs, some broken hockey sticks, and the garbage, like just the regular garbage, and they took everything.
Wow.
Happens. Okay. They do it every week. Yard waste every week.
I guess that's why you pay millions in taxes.
Yeah.
Anyways,
on that note,
golf. Got some end of November, and lots going on, man.
Still lots to talk about, and some interesting topics this week. On the front nine, we're going to obviously kind of take a little review of the latest news and topics, including the conclusion of the PGA and LPGA tours,
Mm-hmm.
the return of Tiger Woods.
Who?
And yeah, I know. And the rise of the modern player.
Interesting.
Tweaks your interest? Well, then you're going to have to keep listening. On the back nine, we're going to do a little follow-up on the recent State of the Industry Summit by the Golf Journalists Association of Canada, that you were in attendance as a board member of the Golf Journalists Association of Canada, and lots of different groups were in attendance there. We'll get into details on that, but it should be it's a bit of an industry topic, so just let you know ahead of time. It's a bit industry-ish, but I think you'll find some of the topics interesting.
Yeah, it's still relevant to all the golfers that are out there, because even though it might be, a little bit inside baseball on some of the things, it affects the golfers that are out there. So
exactly. But let's get to our front nine, presented by Metcalfe Golf Club, a natural setting, a pleasant challenge. Golf season may be over, but it's time to plan for next season and for the golfer on your gift list. Buy a membership, join a league, purchase the game packs. Those game packs are super, super important. And be ready to hit the first tee in the spring or stuff someone's stocking. Visit metcalfegolf.com to shop for those now.
By the way, Jeff, happy low email day. And you're like wondering what it's Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving in the US. So happy Thanksgiving to any of our American listeners.
Hello, email. I get it now.
Which means a lot less short of Black Friday deals that I was getting hammered with. But yes, it is a slower email day, and it feels just like
it's like a big bit sigh of relief.
Well, especially on social media and stuff too. There's less people yapping on, X and all sorts of different things. People, hopefully enjoying their families and giving thanks to some things rather than just, out there bitching on everything all the time. But happy Thanksgiving to all our
Can
American
you say that
friends.
on a podcast?
Sure, you can. We can say anything we
say
want.
Whatever you want on a podcast. It's like Sirius FM radio kind of deal.
Exactly.
Watch, we start dropping bombs. No, that's not going to happen. It's a family-friendly show. All right, Scotty Mac, let's get to the end of the PGA and the end of the LPGA season as they have come to a close.
Yeah, which is different for the PGA Tour because obviously, we've had the wraparound seasons for a few years now, and then now we're going to be back to a normal calendar schedule.
Good.
So it actually finishes in the year it's supposed to finish, which is nice.
Good. Quit screwing around with stuff. All right, well, let's jump on the LPGA Tour, the CME Group Tour Championship. I'm sure that after the start that she had, Brooke Henderson was kind of expecting maybe to be in contention there, but
didn't work out.
She would have had to fire the 3 more rounds like she did in the first round. Otherwise, she finished in 12th place, which is respectable. Yeah, not the top 10 maybe that she was hoping for, or the win that she was looking for, but minus 15 for the week is still pretty good. To add another 80 G's to the season-long earnings and bring that total up nice and high.
Just over 1.6 million this year. 3 top 10s for the year. 24 starts, obviously started the season with a win at the Hilton Grand Vacations Tournament of Champions. There's such varied commentary, based on, this season. Brooke has generally been used to a 2-win season, which is pretty funny to say, used to a 2-win season. And I think, unfortunately, because some pundits and people said, that they took the negative route as far as looking at this year, instead of saying, she's still 12th in the world and all sorts of different things. I mean, they tried to make it out as if it was some disaster or something, but it's hardly that. And as we mentioned on the show before, 24 starts, but she got some little bit more time in there for herself. And we saw some improvements with her game, especially towards the end of the season, especially if you take a deep dive and look at it statistically and see where she was making some improvements. Can she improve? Yeah, there's still more improvements there to be made. And, hopefully, obviously, we see some more faces from Canada heading out on that tour soon. We do have the Q Series finals are coming up. before we just get to the little summary of the other players that finished up this year. But I will mention, while it's on top of my mind, Savannah Gruel from Mississauga, Ontario, just decided to turn pro.
Oh,
She actually was the medalist at first stage of Q school, finished second at the second stage, tearing it up. Was a great player. At Clemson, posted a really nice goodbye to her Clemson family yesterday. I did have a conversation with her dad 2 weeks ago. Her dad actually gave me a call. We talked about, kind of media relations and things about, about turning pro and stuff like that. And that was great. Her dad's, part of her coaching team as well. He's a high school teacher, gym teacher in the Mississauga area. But she is one to look for, especially in that Q school finals. So, yeah, congratulations to her on turning pro after a great amateur career, which included a drive, chip, and putt championship way back when. But
that's crazy.
cool to see. So hopefully she's on the, makes her way onto the tour, or at least get some Epson tour status. She has conditional status for at least getting to the Q Series finals, but obviously hoping for more and hoping to join the rest of the Canadians that were racing for the CME Globe points this past year.
Yeah. Well, Maddie Zurich, Brooke Henderson ended up 15th on that race to the CME Globe. Maddie Zurich was 102nd. Elena Sharp spent most of her time this year on the Epson Tour, which she actually had a win, was 145th. And Modemi LeBlanc, who missed most of the season due to an injury, was 151st. So, quite respectable. And I only expect those players to improve and show much better next year.
Yeah, and I think there's a huge wave of players coming. Not only at the same pace at say Savannah Gruel is, but even behind that. Yesterday, Aphrodite Deng, who now lives down in New Jersey, but as a Canadian who finished T8 at the Team Canada selection camp, she won the AJGA Rolex Tournament of Champions down in San Antonio. She does not graduate high school until 2028.
Scary.
She's 13 years old.
Scary.
She just won one of the biggest AJGA events. So pretty impressive stuff. Shot 8 under, won by 5. So, but we expect to see some more faces there. And good conclusion to the year. Been fun to follow the LPGA, and lots more to follow there heading into 2024.
All right, shifting gears, moving to the PGA Tour, finishing up with the RSM Classic. And interesting weekend because man, poor Mac Hughes, he goes out and puts fires a 60, just missing out on a putt for 59, which is hard to do. So 60 is no sneeze. And he said that in interviews, 59 is great. That's what you strive for. You want it bad, but if you don't get it, I mean, it's still a 60. But he goes 60, 63 on the weekend and actually lost ground.
Yeah, he did.
Like, what the hell? You think you shoot 60, 63 on the weekend, and you're actually going to vault yourself up the leaderboard into the lead. Instead, you're losing ground with the rest of the field.
Yeah,
he ended up finished in second.
Yeah, Ludvig Aberg ended up shooting 61 on the weekend, shot 29 under for the week. We're going to talk about Ludvig in a few minutes here a little bit more deeply. But I mean, and Mackenzie was, as he said, not really disappointed. He played well and just got beat.
Well, that's it. I mean, you can't be disappointed. You always want to win. I get that. You want to do the best that you possibly can, which he did. Yeah. If you get beat by someone who did better than you, and you played as well as you think you could play. I mean, sure, they're always going to say they left a lot of putts out there, but they left a lot of putts out there, and they also probably did some other things that got them par saves that normally they wouldn't do. Yeah. So there's a trade-off in every round of golf. For every putt you didn't make for birdie, you probably made a putt for par that you shouldn't have.
Yeah, and you can't play defense in golf.
No.
That helped him maintain his position 51st overall on the standings for the year, which also gains him entry into 2 of the elevated events next year. He gets access to the Pebble Beach tournament and the Genesis at LA. So those are huge. The points are big for those. The money is big for those. So the fact that he finished second, and he needed to finish second to maintain that position, which was wild. But Adam Svensson tied for fifth in his title defense. That was pretty impressive as well. And then if you want to wrap up the where our Canadians, to summarize kind of where they ended up as far as the top 25, not so much the positions, but how much these guys cashed in 2023.
Well, yeah, the numbers are crazy. I mean, 6 Canadians finished in the top 125 of the PGA Tour points for this past season. Collectively, Nick Taylor, Corey Connors, Svensson, Hadwin, Hughes, Pendrith had $22.8 million in official PGA Tour earnings this season.
That's wild when you think about it.
$22.8 million just in those 6 guys, all inside the top 125.
Yeah, I get
the top 5. What we say? The top 5 players had on the PGA Tour this year had over $4 million.
No, that's just the top 5 of those.
The top 5 Canadians, $4 million each.
Yeah.
And obviously, Nick Taylor was the top Canadian at 6.2 mil.
Yeah. So, pretty impressive seasons. I know you can't judge everything just by the money standpoint of it, but obviously it's still a measure of the player's success as far as their continuing success, not only with wins, but consistent placement. It was almost every week that we were tracking a Canadian, in the hunt, at some point during most of the PGA Tour events. And I was joking. I mean, obviously, a bunch of guys got some wins, but it seemed like every Sunday I was getting an email from the PGA Tour about a potential Canadian, because they put on a press conference just for the Canadians, and they send that out to the Canadian media, and they would be sending out, just in case, here's the link. If they win, we'll have this extra press conference that will be available. So it was always nice to get those emails on Sunday. And as I've always said to people, it's if I'm having to work a little bit more on Sundays, that means
that there's some Canadian success going on.
Exactly. And so that was good. Good to see. And it starts back pretty soon again. The DP World Tour already restarted their 2024 season. They actually started today. So Aaron Cockrell finished 76 on the Order of Merit. He's back at it. And speaking of the DP World Tour, I know I didn't put it in our notes here, but we talked about Curtis Barkley going over to Dubai. He ended up finishing second. He tied for second in Dubai. Yeah, he's that's a big one for him. Unfortunately, it was only one round. It was reduced. This was the G4D DP World Tour Championship in Dubai, which is held concurrently with the DP World Tour Championship. And then now he's in Australia already, getting ready for next week's All Abilities Championship in Australia. So he's flown there, and so we're going to track him there. And that's another tournament where he's finished second twice. So good luck, Curtis. Hopefully he can get a win here. So we've been threatening to get him on here in the podcast. I keep going back and forth with him, but then he seems to be traveling or deer hunting or stuff like that. But I promise you, Curtis, we will do everything possible to make that interview happen, especially if you get that win in Australia.
Yes, definitely. All right. On the heels of the RSM, we wanted to kind of identify a player, because there's something unique and interesting going on with this particular player.
Yeah.
And the win this past week kind of pushed us to kind of talk about this player a little bit more. This is Ludvig Aberg.
Like a lot of people are right now. I mean, Ludvig, he's doing something.
Is he the prototype player?
Mm.
If you look at what he's done, in a very short period of time, in just a few months,
Texas Tech,
graduated from Texas Tech, won on the DP and the PGA Tour.
Yeah,
now has 50 rounds of tour experience, so now he can officially have stats.
Yeah,
minus 29 at the RSM with just one bogey. Or sorry, with just one bogey. Is this guy the player of the future?
Well, think about this. So, if we think about video games and you play a video game and you put your character together and you're trying to pick the best
Mm-hmm.
elements of your fighter or whatever. This dude is doing stuff like he is doing, and I'm, I've been following him since college and stuff, and again, there's always players that come out and everybody's all high and mighty on them because they're like, oh, it's the hottest great thing and whatever like this. But he has consistently been in the mix. I mean, he does everything so well, which is the crazy part of it. And here's not to say that there's not going to be other players that are going to have a lot of the same skills and come back and then knock him down in certain categories and so
Sure,
forth.
of course.
But this is a player who doesn't have a lot of weaknesses in his game. He has some. I mean, we're not going to say everybody's perfect, and he's not at the standard that maybe Tiger Woods did in 2000 as far as that particular year and over that period of time. But when you start to dig into his stats, the things that jump out are crazy. And I mean, I've got a little bit of a list there if you want to just mention some of the stats there.
Well, he said number one in total driving.
Yeah.
Which is distance and accuracy, obviously.
Yeah, which Scheffler held for the whole year until Ludvig had his 50 rounds. Yeah.
Second in proximity to the hole.
Yeah.
Super important. It's very important because, I mean, that obviously translates into shorter birdie putts.
Yeah.
Third in greens and regulation.
Yeah.
Sixth in driving distance.
Yeah. This guy's can touch close to 190. He cruises kind of 184 ball speed. So even Mac Hughes said, when they were playing the 15th hole there at the RSM, and Mac is adding more speed to his game, but Mac still averages kind of 170, 172. He's touched 180 a couple of times. But he's watching Ludvig pump it 30 yards past him on a couple of the holes.
He's second in scoring average.
Yeah.
And number one in birdies. Now, I'm just, of all those stats, what's the most important one?
What do you think?
Oh, I mean, all of them lead to the last one, but to me, the most important one is being number one in birdies means that you're making a crap load of birdies. But I mean, proximity to the hole. Is the one that matters, because that's great. You could be first in greens and regulation and have 25, 30 footers for birdie all day long. You're just going to make a whole whack of pars.
Yeah. And
you could be that close to the hole.
Yeah. You could be last in fairways, but if you're first in proximity, it doesn't really matter. Right.
Yeah. I mean, old school Bob Flaro back in the day, the guy never made a fairway in a round of golf and he'd shoot 64.
Yeah.
So hitting the fairways,
well, we know now from unless you're taking penalty strokes, as long as you're in play, the width of the fairway from its tree line to tree line, if there happen to be a tree line golf course, it's all useful. But it's what you do from there. So I mean, this is just showing that this guy has multiple skills in all areas of the game. And I think when we talk about the prototype player, you know what, this is where we're going to start to see players get to. This is the modern player who's grown up with technology, has had the high levels of coaching, super athlete, he's a really great athlete. He's got all those elements, and the more that these players come out, the more other players that are following see what they're doing, see what the formula is, and try to mimic that.
So this is why, when you look at the accomplishments of a Jack Nicklaus, or a Gary Player or a Ben Hogan or an Arnold Palmer or a Tiger Woods, and you look at the accomplishments, the number of majors, the number of wins, all that kind of stuff, winning, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, 11 times in one season. This is why in my estimation, my prediction is that this is never going to happen again. And the reason is because for every Ludvig Aberg that's out there, there's 1,000 more just like him coming, because they're just, I'm not saying they're robots. I'm just saying that the way that they train, the way that they practice, the way that they learn, the way that they develop their skills is the same.
Yeah,
Now,
it's going to
the
create
ones
more.
that
It's going
grind
to
it
create
harder, the ones
more
that,
parity.
yeah, the ones that put in more effort are the ones that are going to elevate to the top. But there's so many of them like this guy that are coming up. I mean, we saw snippets of it with, with Scheffler, with Koepka, with
Hmm.
DeChambeau, with Rory. But even Rory's kind of on the backside of that now, even though he's still playing really, really good.
Yeah.
You know, but there's more guys like that coming. So on the PGA Tour at any given time, there's 125, 150 guys tipping it up, and any one of them could be that guy.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
chances of somebody winning 10 or 11 times in one season on the PGA
Yeah.
Tour and winning
It's pretty
three
hard.
majors out of four and going on having a career where they win 14 to 18 majors is probably next to impossible because it's too hard.
Hmm.
Because when Tiger did what Tiger did, Tiger
Yep.
was just so much better than everybody else that he could do it.
Hmm.
So he tipped it up, and there was hardly anybody else in the field that was as good.
Hmm.
Same with Jack, and there was
Yep.
less competition.
Yep.
Now
Yeah. It's
there's
more and
not
more and
less
more.
competition, there's more competition.
Yeah, it's deeper and deeper than ever. And I mean, I think I think we saw it even in the past week or so. Um, there was some discussion about the DP World Tour and the players finishing high up in their order of merit, and those ones would get access to the PGA Tour. And there was some warnings from some other Europeans that are playing the PGA Tour right now to the ones that are coming over and saying, hey, you know what? When you come over here, a lot of the times the cuts are going to be, 5 and 6 under par. There's a lot of times that they played maybe the DP World Tour where even par, because
Yeah.
the depth wasn't there, so even par would make the cut. So the depth is greater all the time. It's harder to maintain a card, it's harder to gain a card.
Yeah.
We have 8 more Canadians playing the second stage next week, by the way. But it's harder and harder to do that. So as a result of it, yeah, this is, the more that we have these players like a Ludvig Aberg that all the juniors and college players can look up to, they're
Mm-hmm.
going to be aspiring to kind of match what they do, and they're going to be working harder to do that, and it's just going to elevate the sport just like every other sport has been elevated over the years, and that's just the future of the game.
Exactly. Okay, so we got about 8 minutes, Scott, before we want to
Sure.
get out for a break. Just want to announce, obviously, that across the news right now, Tiger announced his return to tournament play. He plans on making that return at the Hero World Challenge on November 30th. And obviously, he is planning on playing the PNC Championship in December for the fourth straight year with his son, the obvious phenom, next best player in the world, la, la,
20
la, la, la.
26 at the state championship in Florida, but his
Yeah.
team won, so it got a lot of coverage.
Yes, exactly. So
But
good for you, Charlie Woods. Um, we sort of indicated. Do we have any expectations? Just to keep it simple and quick. I have none, and no, I don't. I don't think we should have any.
yeah.
If he small field at the Hero, so he could do well, and he could finish 20th.
Yeah, I think the expectation is not only there but beyond that, and for all the people that are all of a sudden throwing out, oh hey, he's going to win the major and he's going to like settle down, like this is a guy who has been through a lot. His body's been through a lot. He's about to turn 48.
Mm-hmm.
I should remind people that it's not like he's 25 years old anymore.
No.
Bodies get more difficult. Are we counting him out as far as having another win? No,
Nope.
I'm not. But I'll tell you what, it's like me cheering for the Calgary Flames. I start the year thinking we're not going to make the playoffs and we're probably not going to win a game. And you know what? I'm not disappointed when they have some runs or do play well or whatever. So I think people, if they're all of a sudden, expecting he's going to get, 3 more majors and win 5 times a year and play, like, just, what, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment. So
Yep.
just enjoy it while you can.
My sentiments exactly, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Good luck, Tiger. The Golf Ontario officially named their the players of the year for this past season. Do you want to just list the ones
Yeah.
that we have there just quickly, and then we can
Sure. Yep. And the most significant one here, especially for people around our area, Ashton McCullough, who plays out of Cattaraugus down in Kingston, was the player of the year for the men. Katie Cranston for the women. The men's men's whoa, I need more
Mid-am.
coffee. I need more coffee.
Do it.
Men's mid-am went to Phil Archie. Senior men went to Dave Bunker, and the women's mid-am and women's senior titles both went to Judith Karinis.
No surprise there.
No.
We are almost completing the indoor golf guide, ready to close it down. So if you are a facility operator and you have an indoor facility that you want us to post on flagstick.com, you might want to reach out to us quickly so that you're included in that directory. Because if you're not included in that directory and the directory comes out and then you call us and ask us why you're not in that directory, this is why.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I can do some edits later on, but I prefer not to. I prefer to put out as complete a directory as possible. And I know, we're still going to miss a few things on there, but yeah, like you said, just a reminder, if you are an operator, just reach out, let us know what you got going on. There's obviously, some places are expanding, doing other things, but it'd be nice to know and be able to share that with our community.
And just another quick little announcement that Bay of Quinte Golf and Country Club has named industry veteran Jim Burlington as their general manager. Jim will be there to help guide them through a rather extensive expansion, 27 holes with 2024 and growing to 36. And they have some other extensive amenity plans, including accommodations, other services, pickleball, etc. planned. So they've got their guy at the helm to make that happen. And obviously, I mean, we've known Jim for
back to when he was at Bay of Quinte. back in the day when he was the superintendent there, long time ago. Obviously Russ De Silva's there as the head pro as well. They've got a pretty good team. I posted some of their proposed layouts. So they've got 18. They did a preview of some of the holes this fall. They'll open 27 for next year. As I said, I posted some of the layouts. They have 3 potential layouts as far as mixes. I posted that on our Instagram story. If you want to go check out our Instagram, I posted that up there, and they were happy to retweet that. That was from their town hall that they recently had. But yeah, they've got big plans there, hoping to grow to 36. They keep going there. They're going to open by 2025. They'll have the 36 done. It's kind of a legacy project for Graham Cook. He was born in Belleville, and this might be one of his, kind of last big designs that he gets involved with. He's got some other great people that work with him that are doing a lot of the work there, but all the pictures I've seen have been great so far. Looking forward to getting out there and seeing that in the spring.
Cool. All right. Well, that should be enough for the front 9, I would think.
Maybe, yeah. I think that's under par.
We got a nice, I don't know if it's under par or not. That was pretty good. All right, we got a interesting topic to get to in the back 9, just on the heels of the industry summit that you, Mr. McLeod, recently attended and were a part of as a member of as a board member of the Golf Journalists Association of Canada. Some topics that came out of that we're going to discuss and give our opinions and so on and so forth in the back 9. But first, we got to take a quick break. And you are listening to the Flagstick Podcast with Jeff Botter and Scott McLeod. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back at you. The Canadian Pro Shop Online has all the best gear for Canadian golfers. Amazing prices on all the top brands in one place. The latest drivers, irons, putters, and more. The Canadian Pro Shop Online is the best gear to help you play your best golf. Shop online today at CanadianProShopOnline.com. All right, well, welcome back to the Flagstick Podcast with this guy, me, Jeff Botter, and that guy there, Scott McLeod.
Did you almost forget your name?
I did. It's one of those days. I got a toucan.
Yeah,
maybe it's causing some pressure in my brain or something. I don't know. No, but we are here, and we're going to get into this back 9 topic. The back 9 obviously is presented by Falcon Ridge Golf Course. Another outdoor golf season has come to a close, but that does not mean golf season is over. It means indoor golf season has begun, featuring 4 this year, 4 state-of-the-art TrackMan sims. We are open and ready to help extend your golf season well into the spring. Visit falconridgegolf.ca for more information or to book a tee time.
Should I recommend another golf course like I do every week for TrackMan stuff?
Sure, yeah, why not? Might as well keep doing it.
Sure. They've added PGA Frisco, which is the PGA headquarters in the US, just outside of Dallas. They've added the 2 golf courses for that. Don't play them off the tips. I'll tell you that right now. The one is 7,800 yards and the one's doing 7,500, but a fun play. We played that on our usual Sunday game a couple weeks ago, and yeah, it's a good one to check out if you're accessing a TrackMan sim.
All right. Well, we got a whole back 9 to talk about this, but does not mean we're going to talk about it for an hour.
No.
But Scotty Mac, you were a big part of the recent summit run by the Golf Journalists Association of Canada, and there were some interesting stakeholders included in that summit, and a lot of things were discussed. So why don't you set the table, and then I'll throw my 2 cents in worth if anybody cares.
Yeah, so we host quarterly webinars online with the Golf Journalists Association of Canada, and this one that was held on Tuesday, which people can see online. We actually have it up on the flagstick.com if people want to go and watch it. We invited the leaders from Golf Canada, PGA of Canada, Golf Managers Association of Canada, the NGCOA, and the Golf Superintendents Association, all from the various bodies that are obviously very important within golf in this country, just to give a little bit of a snapshot on the year as it was. Rick Young moderated. I did the early part of introduction and some Q&A stuff at the end, but and then address them with some questions. Rick did, and then we had some questions from the crowd as well. And it was very interesting. And this is what led to this topic here. Obviously, they were talking about the challenges, the positives that had happened in the last year or so. But like anything, it's a moving target, right? Things are moving and changing all the time. So it's seeing how all those different parts of the industry not only are working together, which is nice. They're all part of NAGA, which is the National Allied Golf Association. So it's not like the old days where they were kind of all working in isolation. They all spend some time talking to each other, how they can solve problems. It's much more symbiotic than it used to be before. But it was interesting when each of them came forward and started talking about things that they saw during the year. And I should say, here's the basis of everything. It's obviously, the pre-COVID, post-COVID, as far as the rounds of golf and so forth. And that really set the table for all the other issues or things that are happening in the industry. Rounds were up 3.7% overall in Canada last year. More in the West, they had better weather. As you went towards the East, it was down a little bit more. They had a lot of more rain in the Atlantic provinces and so forth. The numbers overall were up 23 to 24% over pre-COVID. So that gives you an idea where things are at. But obviously, up 3.7% doesn't mean it's still, going up like a rocket ship. But at the same time, those numbers cause different issues that are out there, and they create sort of different things. So what we want to talk about is kind of, where do we see things from our perspective? What do we see is good? What do we want to see more of? Our state of the industry more than anything, just from our opinions, our perspective, and maybe kind of what's going on out there. Some thoughts, thoughts. Where do you want to start? I mean, it's a big topic, obviously.
It is a big topic. Well, I mean, I just to talk quickly about this 23 to 24%, over pre-COVID. So just to qualify that with people understanding what pre-COVID means, is that prior to COVID-19 shutting things down and causing the temporary issues with golf play that it did, the industry was trending in a not the greatest direction, but
it was struggling a little bit.
It was struggling.
There's some challenges.
So COVID hits, and obviously the only thing that you could do, aside from sit around your house and watch movies, and go to the grocery store once a week was play golf.
Yeah.
So rounds of golf courses, the rounds of golf went through the roof. Courses were completely booked. Memberships were completely sold out. There was long waiting lists. And that went on for a little over 2 years.
Yeah.
And now we're sort of back to post-COVID, where things are mostly back to normal in that respect. And we have seen at most facilities, not necessarily big drops in membership and big drops in green fee traffic, but at some more than others. There's been a decrease in,
yeah, we should say
fullness of the tee sheet.
Yeah, it's up from where it was previously. We're not saying it all of a sudden has declined back to where it was.
No,
In
that's where the
2019.
23 to 24% mark shows us that we're up pre-COVID. So we're not
right.
We're up from where we were prior to COVID. We were way up,
but it's starting to level out now.
And I think that it will, because I think that there will always be, yes, there's going to be some new people in the game, and that's the positive thing that's come out of all of this is that we have new golfers that we've done a good enough job to keep them around. But the negative in that is that we are not seeing, where we might have had an opportunity to see more growth in that respect. We're not. So there's positives and negatives to come out of that side of it. I guess that's my point.
So let's start with this. Here's a couple of things that are sort of more on the positive side that I want to really point out, and I won't say it's across the board, but it's obviously happens in different places. Kevin Thistle from the PGA of Canada, our CEO, was on that call. He outlined the fact that membership levels for the PGA of Canada. These are the professionals in Canada that are members of the PGA. They used to be about 3,400 for a lot of years. That was kind of the number where they're at. 2,400 golf facilities in Canada. So when you look at that, that meant a lot of the places in Canada, a lot of the golf courses didn't really have a PGA professional, which was critical in a lot of cases because you're getting people. And it's not to say that it's the only qualification for being in part of the operation of the golf course, because there's lots of other aspects to it. But what you're trying to find there, one of the things that happens when people are qualified and are within certain associations and things like that is they're dedicated to the sport. So they're generally going to do more education. They're going to do more things long term. They're not just there to temporarily be in that job. So it's a positive thing when they're involved. So now the PGA membership is nearing actually 4,000 in Canada, which means more facilities out there are hiring PGA professionals. There's other factors in there, cost of joining and different things. But overall, we look at that as a positive sign. The other aspect that I'm seeing at some facilities, and it's not every, and this is where sort of the negative positive sort of is, and taking advantage of what happened during COVID, obviously revenue streams went up in a lot of situations. Because more golfers were there. That's not to say, and these are one of the challenges that has been discussed, is that obviously costs of goods went up, labor went up, there's labor shortages, there's a lot of other things. But in general, when you have more revenue to deal with, it's a little bit easier to manage than those costs just going up and not having the revenue on the other side. As a result of it, we are seeing some facilities now finally take the time to invest in themselves. We've got a couple of things coming up with like the Renfrew Golf Club, for an example, who's expanding their range, a project that hasn't been done for years, because they know that the capacity on the golf course is getting higher and higher. They need their practice facilities and so forth to sort of add to the amenities so that people can leak out and make use of those facilities when they can't get on the golf course. I'm seeing a number of golf courses. Carlton's doing some stuff with their lakes. I'm seeing other golf courses. We just talked about Bay of Quinte, doing the expansion. We're not going to see a lot of expansions going on, but we're seeing courses, redoing bunkers, and so they're putting that revenue back in and they're investing. So that's the good aspect of it. What I think is going to happen, though, is that we're going to start to see some more disparity between the golf courses for the ones that are actually doing the work and the ones that are just status quo and have just and they have all the right in the world to take profits and do whatever, because man, there's some lean years. But when they start to look at what has to happen long term, that was one of the biggest emphasis of this state of the industry, is that it's about long term, and starting to look at long term in regards to member services, HR, player development, course practice development, marketing development, all these different things that have to happen as the industry sort of scales up. Because if all of a sudden there's a lull, you've got to be positioned so that you can kind of be ahead of the lull a little bit to a little bit be a little bit stronger. So, what would you like to see maybe some more of from some of the facilities in that vein?
Well, I think like you're talking about challenges, and this is course conditions is one of the things that as I played a little bit more golf, not a ton more, but a little bit more golf this past season. One of the things that I really took note of was course conditions. And I get, if you don't have, the staffing is one of the issues that leads to some of these facilities not having the conditions that I would think would be ideal or favorable for what you're paying for.
So when you're saying conditions, what are you speaking of specifically?
Well, I'm speaking of green conditions. I'm speaking of bunkers turf being full of grass and not being maintained. I'm speaking of weeds and fairways and grass not being cut more regularly. And I like I said, I get the staffing thing, but at the same time, your staffing issues as a golf course are not my problem. I'm paying a fair amount of money, and in most cases a lot more money than I was when you weren't so busy and you needed my green fee. And now you are really quite busy and you've jacked the rates up to accommodate for all these additional expenses, because yes, everything costs more.
Yeah, it's totally fair.
But now the course that I was playing 3 years ago is nowhere near the condition or being maintained the way it was 3 years ago, but you're asking me to pay more for it because it's costing you more.
So we're talking about that in a general sense.
In a general sense,
talking about specific.
No, definitely not specifics. So that's one of the things that really kind of pisses me off is that I'm not saying you're taking the money and putting it in your pocket and not putting in the work.
Sure.
But that's what it appears.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's appearances a perception is reality. If I show up at your golf course 3 years ago and the greens are in good shape and the fairways are mowed and there's no weeds and I'm paying $50 for my round of golf and there's a drink cart circulating and so on and so on and so on. And I show up 3 years later and I'm now paying $65 or $70 for that round of golf, and the course is in crappy condition compared to what it was 3 years ago.
Right.
I got a problem with that. And I know, and I don't know as a golfer, I don't know your issues, but I have a problem with that. So chances are I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that you don't want.
Yeah, and that I will say, that's reflected in the comments that we receive, obviously from a social media side of it and stuff like that. We monitor it, we discuss, we have lots of discussions with our golf community. I mean, we get that feedback, and sometimes that feedback doesn't necessarily go to the golf courses. Being a third party, they come to us and say, oh, so and so wasn't that good this year, and again, it could be their sample size, it could be the day that they went. But if you start to hear that on a regular basis about a particular golf course, then you begin to wonder. And as you said, that's a real important thing for the golf course, because if they haven't got the conditions that are justified by the the pricing increases, that has going to have some long-term effects, because from my experience and background, and you can comment on your own, if somebody has that experience and it happens this year, chances are they might not return to that golf course for a couple of years. They might not give them a chance because they're like, you know what, I had that bad experience, I'm not going back. It leaves a bad taste in their mouth, right? And so it's not just a short-term problem of the day. That guy complained, and I get it. Sometimes maybe people are expecting too much, in a particular case. But if you're hearing it consistently, that obviously means they're doing some sort of comparison against other products that they're seeing for the price. So that definitely, I could see that for sure. So you're right. From the front end, the consumer only sees the front end. They see what they pay.
So
They
don't
see what they
expect the
pay.
consumer to see what's going on in the back end. Don't expect
Right.
the consumer to have sympathy for the fact that you can't get staff.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
don't expect that. Now, and on that same note, there are some facilities that it's not the staffing issue. It's a put money in the bank issue. You know, they're busy, and this is kind of sometimes what happens with some facilities is they care less about the traffic is there, the tee sheet is full, and they take just a little bit each time to see what that limit is. Where is that limit before people stop coming or the negativity starts to grow? And they push that limit because that pushes their profit margin. So they go, what can I take this away? Can I take this away? Can I cut every 3 days, or, you know, can I cut the green? They try a little bit each time, and they find that limit. And once they find it, then they stay there for a while and they put as much money in the bank as they can. That said,
I think part of the thing is it's incremental, right? So anyways, I'll let you finish. I'll let you finish your point.
That's it. One of the things we talk about from a marketing perspective is storytelling. And I noticed you put that on your notes here. Marketing is my thing, it's my gig, it's my jam. And one of the things that, yes, there is a self-serving interest in me wanting golf courses to spend more money on marketing and so on and so forth. Yeah, I get that. And that's going to come across as that. That's the nature of my business, is I want you to spend money. And I do, but I want you to spend it properly. And I want you to spend it the right way. And I want you to tell the right stories. And one of the things...
Or tell a story.
Tell a story. The thing about your business is not just about the green fees. It's not just about the tournaments or the banquets and stuff like that. It's about you. It's about
you, your people, your culture.
Yeah, exactly. It's who you are. So when you're trying to determine, as a golf operator, you're trying to determine, what do I need to do? You know, what am I going to promote? Well, I've got these 3 for 4 for 3s, or I got this $10 off special. It's like, no, that's not what you want to promote.
You're just a commodity if that's the case.
Everybody's got a deal. Everybody's got a promo, but everybody has a different story.
Right.
So you can offer all the same deals across 20, 30, 40, 50 golf courses, but you can't tell the same story. And everybody's got an individual. It doesn't matter how expensive your golf course is or how inexpensive your golf course is. Your story is completely different. And how you perceive yourself to the public, how you deliver your message, whether it's in your marketing or whether it's on site, that's your individual marketing strategy. And it's right there. Is what happens when I show up? What's different about you when I show up? What are you doing for me when I show up? What kind of experience are you delivering for me? That's what golf is about. Golf is golf. You know, you play 100 golf courses, and 100 golf courses are all going to be different layouts and different this and different that, but it's still golf. It's hitting a ball off the tee. It's hitting a ball from the fairway. It's making a putt or hitting a bunker shot. What else?
Yeah. So golf is a lot about, and a lot about many things. It's about emotion. And, we talk about a little bit in coaching side of it or whatever. It's not the information or whatever that you tell somebody. It's how you make them feel.
Yeah.
And how you make them feel, again, has to be conveyed in your story and how you're talking. And I've seen some great stuff from golf courses this year where, it becomes less about the price. Because as you said, commodity, if it's, if you're just going, I'm $58, I'm $59, okay, that doesn't tell the story. And I can tell you our experience, what we hear from golfers all the time, even though golfers, maybe clubs or people that are behind the counter hear people like, oh, that's a great price, or oh, that's too high, or whatever. That's not what they talk about afterwards. What we hear when people come afterwards is we hear the stories and the experience. People wonder why, golf courses that are $400 and $500, and people are like, whoa, that's ridiculous for them. But guess what? When people go there and they have that world-class experience, they're not hesitating hesitating to go back to that place, again. Yes, it obviously has to fit within their budget and so forth, but there's less of a barrier because they had such an amazing time that's there. So, again, if you're selling a membership, it's not just about the membership. It's about the culture. It's about, and you're right. That's that storytelling. That's the reason I had it in there, was this is what it's about. I mean, people don't bounce around memberships as much as people think, even though there might be a perception that some people do. They go to a place where they feel comfortable. They go to a place where they feel welcome. And it's the same for green feeders. They go back to places where they've had positive experiences and they go back. But if your marketing doesn't convey that, then that's an issue. But that's again, that goes back to long-term strategies of developing it. It's not just about let's put stuff in the bank today. Let's put stuff consistently in the bank for the next 20 years.
And long-term strategy too, I think we need to kind of understand that how your membership makeup, or your golfer makeup at your facility is part of that long-term strategy. So what I mean by that is there was a push through the COVID years to push junior members out of golf courses in favor of the higher paying adult members who wanted memberships because it was all they could do. So the goal was, we only have so much space available, rather than have all these junior golfers running around for $1,000 a year. With limited playing options. Let's have more adult members around at $3,000 or $4,000 a year, because that's better for our bottom line. That's short-term thinking. Because when you talk about long-term strategy, it's, I want a golfer to be a member at my golf course, or I want a golfer to be a regular playing person at my golf course for the next 25, 30, 35, 40 years. That's what I want. If I don't cultivate that member or that golfer from the time that they're allowed to start playing golf till the time that they're a full paying adult member. And guess what? Over 25 or 30 years, how many of those 40, 50, 60-year-old members do I still have? And who's taking their place? If you haven't cultivated your membership or your audience or your loyal golfer followers, from the time that they are, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, 14 years old, 15, and so on, then you lose them. Then they don't become full paying adult members. That is what you ultimately want. So I'm not saying you have to have 400 junior members. And I'm not saying if you want more that you can't limit them. And if you're a facility that has the number of holes, or you have the driving range, then you've got the ability to do something about this. That's long-term strategy. Long-term strategy is not just what am I going to do to my golf course over the next 20 years. It's what am I going to do with my audience over the next 20 years.
So what you're building there is you're building emotional equity with your clientele.
That's a good equity is a good word to use.
And then emotional equity is super important, because that also ties into people doing more other things to diversify your revenue stream, because they become more invested and dedicated to your facility.
Camps,
lessons, merchandise. When they make a decision of where to recommend for friends to go play, there's a lot more to it than that. So, don't quibble over the pennies. You'll get the dollars if you just take your time and look at it as long term. And the value, it takes a lot more. Every business has done this study that's been interested in it, but it takes a lot more money to acquire a new client than it does to cultivate a stronger relationship with current clients. It's an important aspect to it. So if you've got just a short-term strategy, I mean, look, we're in year 28 with this publication and media company, and we've seen it inside and out. We've seen many people come and go within this industry, with a lot of fast promises of, we'll do this for you and we'll do this for you. But you know what? It rarely ever works out. I mean, certainly there's always a need for new things, and that's part of it as well. To grow is to to think about new avenues where you can kind of grow your business. But you know, when anybody comes in and is thinking short term with anything,
Mm-hmm.
chances are it hasn't been well thought out more than anything. And the clubs that have that long term success, not because, you know, it's a golf course and it's a piece
Yeah.
of property and it's hard to close a golf course, but the ones that continue to thrive are the ones that put a lot of thought into it.
So here's an interesting thing, and I know that this has been done places before. This is not some newfangled idea that I just came up with while I took my last sip of coffee. But what I haven't seen, at least in this region, in this area, very much of, is promotion of things by facilities to attract new golfers. And I mean new golfers, I mean people that have probably never picked up a golf club more than once in the last 5 years, or never picked up a golf club at all, that are completely new beginners, would be totally embarrassed to go out with their buddies because they know they're not going to get the ball off the ground.
Right.
What are we doing to encourage those people to take up the game? So why, if you have, and this is where you have to look at your facility. Obviously, if you're an 18-hole facility with no driving range, there's not a whole lot you can do to get new golfers out onto your golf course without and somehow inhibiting the experienced golfers that are already out there, barring closing the golf course down, which I get would be an extreme revenue loss. But if you're a facility that has 27 holes, or you have 36 holes, and you have a driving range facility as well, and a practice green and all that kind of stuff, then why aren't you doing something?
You mean instead of just fighting over the same audience over and over again?
Like bring them out, you know, charge them a little bit of money. Maybe if you want to charge, say, $10 beginner or new golfer, you know, seminars, and you do them once a week over the course of 6 weeks or something, or twice a week or whatever, and they come out and they join a group, they go out on the golf course and they play, or they go to the driving range and they get some tips and stuff, and then they go out and they play 6 holes or something. I mean, I'm just throwing it like, give me a week and I can come up with a better plan. Give me a minute and this is what you're going to get from me. But I don't see any of that. I don't see any promotion of that. Now, it might exist, but what I'm saying is I see a lot of specials. I see a lot of come and play our golf course. I see a lot of promotion to the same audience, trying to attract the same golfer. But I don't see anybody doing. Now, is this something that the golf courses should do? Is this an associate? Is this an OVGA thing? Is this a Golf Ontario thing? Is this a Golf Canada thing?
Well, the NDCA already has a welcome to golf program that they introduced, but you know, it needs to expand, right? So it's a brand new program. It just was introduced last year. And they have plans to expand it and so forth. But you're right. One of the things that happens, I think, is because from that, to reach that market takes a little bit of extra effort.
But where's the promo of that plan?
No, that's what I mean, though. The effort and stuff for that, we don't see it as much because we're not looking outside of golf. They're doing that outside of golf, which is where it needs to be happening, right? It's through business journals and all that stuff or whatever. So this is not a program that we would see pushed and promoted through golf because you know, this is not generally where that audience is. The people have to reach outside of golf, right? And get to that. But that means that, you know, if you're a golf course, you know, consider maybe getting a hold of an office someplace and saying, hey, you know what, you're an investment office, you know, where you know, have, you know, all the people that may have the resources to go play, but have never been around the game. You know, maybe you do an outreach with them and say, hey, we're going to come to your place and introduce you to the game and stuff. And I know everyone's busy and stuff like that, but a little bit goes a long way. And I certainly, that's the same. You know what, if you're thinking about that in your golf course, you're looking to do that outreach. I mean, again, we cycle in that world a little bit, right? And people have to remember that, you know, people don't, if they're not in the golf industry, they don't know who the golf courses are. So what they do is they come to a place like us, you know, as an overarching golf media company, and people come to go, okay, I'm not a golfer. Oh, my buddy says, go look on this and this site, and I'll get to know more about golf. So yeah, if you are trying to do any programs or stuff like that, yeah, come talk to us. I mean, that's
well. Here's the thing: the NGCOA, and the NGCOA does some wonderful things and is essentially there for the golf course operators. They have the program that they do usually in July to take a kid to the course.
Totally
week, okay.
Separate. Yeah.
Okay. So I like the concept of the program. Okay. Essentially, kids under a certain age play for free whenever they book a tee time with a full paying green fee adult. So adult pays the full green fee right off the rack, no deals, and the kid plays for free. Most golf courses that I know of already do this on a weekly basis or on a weekend basis, where they offer kids play free after a certain time with a full paying.
I wouldn't say most.
Okay,
now.
some. But
now
my point is
more.
this. My point is this.
Yeah.
What is the point of doing it for a week?
Yes.
How is that encouraging anything?
Yeah.
So you're going to wait until the July to take your kid to the course so that he can play for free to introduce him to the game. That makes no sense. It should be a full season long thing that happens once a week on a specific day, or a couple of times a week, depending on the facility. It should be promoted by the NGCOA, sponsored by the NGCOA and its partners to subsidize it potentially, so that the golf courses will do it without cutting into their revenue streams. At the same time, the golf courses should be offering that up a little bit less expensively, because those are essentially new golfers. And encouraging the family aspect of the game and stuff like that. So I know Metcalf Golf Course, we've been the sponsor of the Kids Play Free program at Metcalf for years. That's got nothing to do with them, not shameless self-promotion, nothing like that. There's other golf courses. I know Falcon Ridge does something similar. There's other golf courses around our region that do it on an annual, every year, usually on a Saturday, Sunday, or a Saturday or a Sunday. They do an after 3:00 or an after 4:00 Kids Play Free program, and I love it. I don't get the whole 1 week thing. The only reason you do a 1 week thing is it's across the board. All golf courses have to do it, and it promotes the Golf Course Owners Association. That's what I see. Anyway, anything else we want to talk about on this topic, Scott? Or
oh no, I mean we could go many ways with that, but let's just say that a small investment every single year pays off long term instead of waiting. It's no different than for us from a coaching side of it. I invest in my technology and stuff all the time so that I don't all of a sudden become irrelevant. And then, 10 years down the road, you're having to go, oh boy, I can't afford this to put all this stuff into or whatever. So, there's some great stuff that is going on in golf. We're not trying to be negative Nellies here, but, we can always be better. And it's always good to take the time to analyze stuff and go, what are our weaknesses? And if you're not willing to admit your weaknesses, then you're just kind of sticking your head in the sand. So, and
on that note, I also want to say, it's okay if you want to talk to us, like, honest to God, there's no consulting fee.
No, just
pick up the phone, send an email, say, hey, I want to bounce this idea off here, or I heard the podcast, or I watched the podcast, and you guys had some interesting thoughts here. Can we talk about this? I'm curious how I might be able to make this work. I'm all in to sit down and talk about it. And if we can help you,
want golf to be better.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's called growing the game. That's what we're supposed to be doing, because growing the game helps everybody. It helps. It helps the industry. It's not just about my bottom line or your bottom line. That will take care of itself if we grow the game.
Rising tide.
Exactly.
A rising tide lifts all ships.
Exactly. All right.
Let's wrap it up.
Confucius type saying, we're going to leave it there and wrap it up. Great show. Fun show, good topics. Obviously want to thank all our sponsors this week: Metcalf Golf Club, Falcon Ridge Golf Course, and our presenting sponsor, Canadian Pro Shop Online, with amazing prices on all the latest brand name golf equipment, all in one convenient location online. It's never been easier to upgrade your game, whether it's drivers, irons, putters, or whatever your golf game needs. The Canadian Pro Shop Online is the best gear to help you play your best golf. Shop online at CanadianProShopOnline.com, and remember, gift giving is fun at Canadian Pro Shop Online too, so check that out. Hopefully you've enjoyed this show and you're enjoying hearing and watching what we're bringing to you. Be sure to follow us across all social media networks: Instagram, X, TikTok, Facebook. Subscribe on Spotify, Audible, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like us and click that notification bell to make sure you never miss a single episode. Also, get on over to flagstick.com for more amazing golf content delivered every single day, and to sign up for the free Flagstick Digest newsletter, where we're going to send you free content directly to your inbox 3 times a week. You can't get any better than that, because why? It's free. Always appreciate you tuning in, but until next week, I am Jeff Botter.
I'm Scott McLeod.
Always remember, go for the stick.